Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome inside the Lock Shop. Dustin Nielsen and Hustler with you. Subscribe to the podcast today. And if you're listening to the podcast, we appreciate the support. Leave us a rating. Hit that little star. Hit those 5 stars. That would be great.
Yes, and a wonderful, eloquent review as well would be very nice terrific for all of our Lock Shop people. At that, it actually does go a long way to promote the channel. So appreciate all the support and spreading the word of the fun we have here every week.
I'm just seeing right now. I'm just going to check and see if we have any. Well, I think we've we're a 5-star rating, and then nice little comment there from CJ Beck 5. For a little while ago there. That's good. That's what I like to see. That's good. But yeah, we've only got 5-star ratings. There's not even like a 4-star trying to bring us down right now, Huss. This is huge. Well, this is huge.
Who would even consider giving the Lock Shop only 4 out of 5 stars? It's inconceivable, Dustin.
I mean, if we had a really bad week, I could understand somebody going on and be like 1 star. This was bogus.
Nice picks, idiots. You know?
All right, the Lock Shop is brought to you by Coolbet. Chris Abbott's going to join us a little bit later on. Coolbet Canada. Sign up for an account. Use the bonus code LOCKSHOP, and you'll get hooked up with a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. We're going to get to some puck picks for Saturday. The Dog Pound, Partner Parlay. Abbott's going to be by. He'll ruin that parlay for us. Huss has the Wide World of Wagering a little bit later on as well. But hey, buddy, we're in the Final Four here in the National Hockey League now. You've got the Islanders back in the Final Four again against Tampa. Yeah. And then the Montreal Canadiens, fresh off a sweep, winners of 7 in a row, going up against the Golden Knights team that turned into a juggernaut there against Colorado. What do you make of all this?
Well, listen, I'm still not over the Winnipeg-Montreal series, to be frank with you. I mean, after all the excitement and the build-up after sweeping the Oilers, the Jets, listen, it started off poorly and proceeded to get worse over the course of the 4 games. The loss of Scheifele and DeMello in game number 1 was huge. The best story out of the entire series, though, was the incredible heel turn of Mark Scheifele, going from like the nice guy, the Ned Flanders of the National Hockey League, to a straight up stone cold type villain in the National Hockey League. But anyways, it was stunning the way the Jets sort of crashed to earth the way they did after playing some pretty darn good hockey to get past Edmonton. But to me, the story is the Islanders. I mean, the New York Islanders continue to do it. That's 2 years in a row. The Islanders are getting to the Final Four. Obviously, they're going to have a very, very tough series with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the semis, but I just keep on looking at the job Barry Trotz is doing, and I know we've got other guys up for the Jack Adams Award, but year in and year out, is there a guy that squeezes more out of his team and the roster that he has than Barry Trotz? It's unbelievable, and they're a 4-line team. You see in the last minute of the game, who's out there? Cal Clutterbuck. I mean, they rely on, they have good players in the positions and the roles that they need, and they win hockey games. And I got to tell you, as a lockdown Canadian, it's been tough watching all of these buildings. But, I mean, Vegas last night and the Coliseum in Long Island, I was happy. I mean, I can't stand the Bruins, so I was hoping for the Islanders anyways, just out of a fan perspective.
Me too.
But I have to tell you, the Islanders getting another series is wonderful, if for no other reason that we get to see those maniacs pack the Coliseum for a few more games with so much on the line. So I can't wait. And agree. So the big story is, I mean, Vegas beating Colorado 4 straight. I mean, a stunning turnaround in a series that started off and it looked like it would be over quickly. Vegas played much better, but didn't get the win in game 2. And I think a lot of people thought that was their chance. Yeah, they said don't worry about it, and went back and rattled off 4 in a row. I mean, I don't know what you can say about Vegas. Marc-Andre Fleury, Mark Stone. Obviously, they're going to be a heavy favorite to Montreal going into the series. And maybe we'll get to that when we do the picks. We can get to a couple of these series lines because they are out right now for the Stanley Cup playoffs. May as well do it right now.
Yeah, we might as well just get into it. Yeah, what do we got?
Montreal, a huge underdog for the series, plus 345 to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. And the Islanders, still an underdog, but quite a bit less at plus 215. I did cash a ticket on the Islanders in round one. They were plus 195 against Boston. But I think that was probably a pretty fair line considering how powerful the Tampa Bay Lightning have looked in two series where they've taken out very, very high quality teams in the Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Talking about it with Patty Gregoire from CoolBet, who's joined us on the Lock Shop in the past yesterday on two guys and a goalie. And that was before that series line had come out with the Golden Knights and the Habs, obviously. And he kind of was guessing it might be around plus 300 because they're a public team, right? Like move that line a little bit. So, and I was thinking probably a little bit more than 300, but plus 345 for a playoff series is a huge underdog, Huss. And I think we all view them that way, but they were the underdog against Toronto. They were the underdog against Winnipeg. I know it's a different beast here against Vegas, but Colorado didn't want to slow down Vegas and muck it up. Like they were more than happy just running. And the Habs can skate, but they're not going to do that. So I think it's going to be a different challenge for Vegas. I don't think Montreal will beat them, but I like there's a chance I think it could happen because I didn't expect them to go on this run. They won 7 in a row. Like they're playing well right now.
Listen, the Habs have some magic going right now. And listen, they were great. They were great in the series against Winnipeg. And, the Jets just simply didn't have it. With or without Scheifele and DeMello, I mean, there was no one that really stepped up except for Connor Hellebuck, who kept them in the series. I mean, they didn't really have much business being. I mean, the game somehow got to overtime in game 4. I think it was 42-16 with the shots. So, listen, it was ugly on the Winnipeg side of things, but Montreal does deserve a lot of credit. But make no mistake, they're moving up a couple weight classes going up against the Vegas Golden Knights. And that's why you have such a massive line. But I'm with you. At plus 345 for the series, I mean, I think there's definitely great value on Montreal. And I don't think you could possibly consider laying over minus 400 on the Vegas Golden Knights to win that series. I think you're better off loading up on the games that you like and jumping on it. Because, like, for instance, and we'll get to this a little bit later on, Vegas minus 270 in the opening game. And, wow, the lines moved big time already from the Habs. And I guess we'll get to that coming up when we get to our picks.
Well, let's dive into it. We've got our puck picks, the dog pound, and the partner parlay that we'll get to. Chris Abbott will join us a little bit later on, and we'll dive into some of the Euro stuff. Huss has the Wide World of Wagering coming up as well. But let's start with our puck picks. We're actually on the same game, couple different angles on it here. Huss, let's start with the side in this one. You're on the Tampa Bay Lightning in game 1 against the Islanders, and I'll talk a little bit about the total.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listen, as I said, I love the Islanders. I love everything about them, the way they play. I think they're going to be a very, very tough out. But coming off that series against Boston, I really do think that the Tampa Bay Lightning have they've got all the momentum right now. They'll be at home. They'll be waiting for the New York Islanders, and I think they do jump on them in game 1. I don't expect this to be a short 4 or 5 game series. But I think home ice in this series is going to really be significant. And that's not something we've talked about really at any point this year. But Tampa will be rocking, and New York. I mean, the energy that the Islanders will get from their fans, I think will make them a very dangerous team playing at home. But going into game number 1, I really do think the Lightning are focused. I mean, we saw the way they took care of the Carolina Hurricanes in short order. And that, to me, is a team, I think both of those teams, at least on paper, well, most teams on paper are maybe better than the Islanders, but again, the sum is greater than the parts. But I like Tampa to get game 1 of this series, get off to a start. I do expect them to win the series, and I think they'll probably be up 2-0 coming back, and then it'll be up to the Islanders if they can get back into the series with the power of that Coliseum crowd.
Yeah, it's funny because they played last year in the Eastern Conference Final, right? And Tampa won it in 6. Which means the Islanders won 2 games in a bubble situation, like with no crowd impact one way or the other, right? So, yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna get but Tampa's so good, and they're $18 million over the cap right now. I mean, it's kind of tough to.
They're already the Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah, I had Ray Ferraro on today, and we're talking about that series, and goes. And we got to talk about it. Like they're $18 million. They got Kucherov and Stamkos basically playing for free. Like they've got a Kucherov and Stamkos type duo above the cap, which is just they should win the cup. Tampa Bay should win the Stanley Cup. But I do like. I'm with you in game 1, and I'm on under 5.5 here, and it's minus 143. Tampa has hit the under in 6 of 7. I mean, it was a pretty tight series there against Carolina. The Islanders one is interesting to me because we talked about it with, I don't know if it was Chris or Pat from CoolBet, but we talked about, we thought the Islanders Bruins might be a little bit of an under type series. And it was anything but. I think in the 6 games, only one game hit the under. I think there was 4 overs and under and a push. So part of me is a little bit hesitant there, but I also think, how's Barry Trotz think his team's going to win game 1? And they're going to try to lock things down, and Tampa can play any type of hockey, and I think they'd be more than comfortable taking Vasilevsky against whoever starts in game 1 for the Islanders, and I like the under 5.5 here.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we've seen the defense of both the Islanders throughout this, and again, there's been some goals, but it's been, to be honest, the shaky goaltending, Tuukka Rask not at 100%, and then a whack load of empty netters with the they haven't been tied games. So, the goalie comes out and, we've seen like multiple empty netters in the last couple of games. So that I think skewed things a little bit as well. Hey, listen, before we get to the dog pound, we were looking at those series picks. I'm not sure. Have you looked at the late, like without looking, Dusty, have you looked at the latest future numbers? Who do you think right now is the favorite to win the cup on CoolBet?
I haven't looked yet. So this is good. This is a fun game. I'm going to go with Tampa.
You know what? I assumed it would be Tampa. It's in fact the Vegas Golden Knights.
Really?
The Knights right now. Here are cup winning, and you can get on these before the next round starts. Vegas is plus 125 to win the cup. Tampa's plus 150. Obviously, they're both heavy favorites in their series. And the Islanders are 6-1, and the Canadians are 10-1. I'm a little surprised that Vegas has the nod over Tampa. But listen, they just took out the Avalanche, who everyone thought was the favorite.
That's true.
So they're certainly getting some credit for that. But I would have thought that they would maybe be even, or Tampa would have been a slight favorite. So if you're big on Tampa, there's your edge right now. Vegas plus 125, Tampa plus 150 to win the cup.
Not a huge difference, but I like my money on Tampa at plus 150 more than the Golden Knights did. And we thought we were going to get Edmonton, Toronto. It didn't happen. Like we thought we were going to get Winnipeg and whoever. It didn't happen. We think we're going to get the Knights and the Bolts, but we've been proven wrong many times already. So we'll see how it plays out for sure.
Kind of funny, you've got the possibility of having 2 storied franchises with all those Stanley Cups, the Montreal Canadiens, the former dynasty of the New York Islanders, or longtime hockey hotbeds, Tampa, Florida, and Las Vegas, Nevada, playing for Lord Stanley's Cup.
That is crazy.
I'm looking forward to these series. And listen, I think just as a fan, Tampa, Vegas would be an absolutely incredible final. It would be a war of attrition. It would be a war. And I'm here for it, but we got to get through our first series first. And as we mentioned, those are the lines are up right now, as well as our latest for the Cup futures.
Discuss that maybe a little bit here with Chris Abbott when he pops by. So once again, your puck picks. Huss is on the Lightning, minus 162 in game 1, and I'm on the under 5.5 at minus 143. Let's get to the dog pound, where I'm going to the association. You're sticking with the National Hockey League, so let's start there, Huss. We'll come back around in the Partner Parlay, and it might be my, the Habs fan in me going, there's no way we take game 1. But I'm surprised that you're going with the Habs at plus 1. I mean, it's a good value, but man, that'd be something else.
And it's even more so. I made this bet last night, I basically made it for the lock shop last night, right when the line came out afterwards. Okay. And I can tell you that this was more of a spot pick. I think Montreal, I think there's the potential that Vegas might have a bit of a letdown after beating Colorado in the fashion that they did going into game 1 as a heavy, heavy favorite. And the Habs have been underestimated throughout this playoffs. You mentioned what they've done in winning 7 games in a row, and take it from a Jets fan. We just saw it live and in color for 4 straight miserable hockey games. So I don't count out the Montreal Canadiens in this series. I do think Vegas will win, but I think there's a very good chance that Montreal comes in and establishes themselves in game number 1 and maybe catches a Vegas team on a little bit of a lull. Now that line, when it first came out, was plus 185. The line right now is plus 221. So there's been some huge movement in the favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. So Again, we've got a little bit of time. That game's going to go on Sunday. So you might want to follow that line going forward, opening at 185, now to 221. I have a hard time imagining it would get much bigger.
I was going to
than
say,
this.
what do you think it settles at?
Well, I would think probably in and around 210 or something like that, considering what we've seen so far. I mean, how much higher can Vegas get in game number one? They're minus 270 right now. But again, for a team that's a minus 455 favorite for the series, I guess all the money's going in on Vegas right now. But listen, I just think that for a spot for the value, more than 2-1, give me the Habs to surprise everybody and grab first blood in game number one.
And I'm going to go to the association, and there's a chance here because we'll discuss this game again in the Partner Parlay. There's a chance that I hit and you hit in this one because you're on the Clippers, but it's a money line later on. I'm on the Jazz. And last night when I was I guess it would have been first thing this morning, early this morning when I was in at the radio station, the Jazz were 3.5 point underdogs. Now they're 4.5 point underdogs. So that line has moved a little bit. You don't see the Jazz as underdogs very often, but they have covered whatever the spread is in 6 in a row. They have covered the spread in 8 of their last 9. I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to take a little bit of the easy way out here. I'm going to take them just to cover this 4.5, not to win outright. I think they could win outright, to be honest with you. But when you've got a guy that can defend like Rudy Gobert, and when he is on the court to when he is off the court, they are a completely different team defensively. Like there's a reason he's won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. And Rudy Gobert, I think, even on the road in this situation with not a lot of pressure on the Jazz, if they go down 2-1, who cares? I think his defense alone will keep this to be a very tight basketball game. So I like the Jazz at plus 4.5. I hope the line moves a little bit more before I actually lock it in. So I'm on the Jazz at plus 4.5. And part of this is also because I got no faith in Paul George to do anything ever. Like Paul George.
You're not big playoff P guy?
This guy, he's trying to run as a number 2 with the Clippers, but he's a number 3 in a big 3. Like he's Chris Bosh. He's like different players, but Chris Bosh was the clear-cut number 3 behind LeBron and D Wade. He's Kevin Love behind LeBron and Kyrie Irving. Like he's Draymond behind Clay and Steph when they won 73 games. Like he's not a number 2. He's your number 3. So yeah, the Clippers are going to get some games in this series, but Jazz are going to win it, and I'll take them anytime against the Clippers as an underdog. So I like the Jazz plus 4.5.
Yeah, this, is interesting. I mean, watching the game last night and, these hoops I've gotten more. I didn't see as much of the first round, but now with the, obviously the Jets being out and less pucks on, I've been paying a bit more attention. And the Jazz, listen, it's just crazy the 4 teams we've got left in the West right now. I mean, Jazz, Clippers, Suns, and Nuggets. Like one of those teams is going to be in the NBA Finals. And I mean, I know the Clippers were, the team that everyone expected that, would be challenging LeBron and whatnot last year. And we saw the way that ended up. And listen, they almost lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. I mean, Luka pushed them right to the limit. And they had to come back and win on the road in game 6 and then take game 7 at home. So, I mean, that's a team you could see getting it done. But to be honest, I mean, I think it's the Jazz, and this other series between Denver and Phoenix is fascinating. The Suns were garbage for the better part of the last decade. Chris Paul finds the fountain of youth, comes in there. DeAndre Ayton, apparently not a bust number 1 overall pick anymore. Yeah. And dude, this Devin Booker kid is an absolute flamethrower. I mean, he's a guy that I think a lot of casual fans haven't really heard very much or seen much about. But if you've been paying attention to the NBA playoffs, you'll know just what a young star that Booker is for the Suns. And these are fun. And of course, we didn't even mention the MVP on Denver, the Joker, the season he has. And the guy is just an absolute machine. So
there's so much talent in the NBA, man. It's crazy. It's awesome right now. It's great. And that's without LeBron and AD still there. And that's without Steph and Clay being in the playoffs. Like it's a good spot that league's in right now. Chris Abbott. So there you go. There's the dog pound. Hustle's on the Habs plus 185. I'm on the Jazz plus 4.5. And let's just follow up, stick with the basketball here because you are on the Clippers money line, which I did say we could. It would be great. I mean, Clippers win by 2, and we're both laughing at, which would be terrific.
Nice little close game. Yeah, and just continuing on our conversation about the Clips. I think the Jazz are a better team. I think they win this series, but I'm not expecting it to be a 4 or 5 game sweep. So game 3, the Clips have to win this game. I mean, they're going to come back. And you know what? To their credit, they made a game of it last night. They're a team that usually sort of falls apart in the fourth quarter. I mean, they're a team, Kawhi doesn't talk to anyone, so I think they have some legitimate communications issues when it comes down to the most important parts of the game. They're just expecting osmosis to take over. And, first it was Doc Rivers' fault, and now I don't envy Tyronn Lue and what he's got to do with that club, but I do think they get the win. I mean, they're just too good of a team, too stacked. And to be honest, I think we learned a lot about the Clippers in that they can be an up and down team, but in that series against the Dallas Mavericks, when they were down 2-0 after losing both games at home, they got a big win on the road. When they were down 3-2, going back to Dallas in game 6, got a massive win. I think they rise to the occasion and they get it. I didn't want to touch the spread. I mean, for the parlay, let's just get the win. 1 point doesn't matter. And as I said, I'm fully with you on this, Dusty. I endorse a 2 or 3 point victory for the Clippers. So you can take your dog pound, and I will take a money line on the Clippers to get back into this series in game number 3.
It's a three sport partner parlay today that in the end is going to pay plus 389. We'll talk some soccer here with Chris Abbott in just a second. I'm on Vegas in regulation because the number's really juicy. Minus 128 for Vegas to win in regulation. And like I said earlier, part of me is, as a Habs fan, it's too good to be true for the Habs to go into Vegas and win game 1. Like that's just not, I just don't see it happening. And one of the
coming
reasons,
back from 3-1 against Toronto is too good to be true. Sweeping Winnipeg and having them not even show up for the series was too good to be true. Listen, if there's one team that goes on these magical rides out of nowhere, it's the Montreal Canadiens. And as much as I can't stand it, at some point you just have to realize that it's happening, and it's happening right now. And listen, that could very well be, it would be a hilarious double whammy for you to blow the parlay, but your team getting a huge win and continuing to shock people. I can't wait to get this series going.
The one thing that I do look at here outside of just my gut feeling is the Habs are going into a road building for the first time that's going to be packed. Absolutely packed with a team with a fan base that's absolutely nuts, but also a team that can run you out of that building. And I think there might be a little bit of kind of getting your feet wet in this series after being off for a little bit. I mean, they rolled in the last one, coming out of 7, straight into Winnipeg, pick up the win. Now they've had some downtime. Let's see how they bounce back here against a Vegas team that's flying high right now. So I like Vegas, minus 128 in regulation in game 1. And I mean, depending on how that game 1 goes, I mean, we could see the series not be over in one game, but the tone set beyond the ability to turn it around if you're the Habs. So I'm doubting them. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't like this game 1 for them.
Yeah, well, listen, the Habs picking the dog pound was a little bit of a value play. It's a massive number right now. We talked about how it went from 185 to over plus 220. And listen, I think that if there's ever a game where the Habs might catch the Vegas Golden Knights not being up to it, I think there's obviously the possibility of a little bit of a lull coming off such a great series against the Colorado Avalanche. So I guess we will see. But I'm looking forward to getting Abbott on here because we are going 3 sports, and his sport is kicking off today, and there is a lot of excitement around this big tourney.
You had to get in on the Euro right away, didn't you, Chris? Welcome to the Lock Shop.
What's up?
Well, hey, boys. How's it going? Yeah, I wanted to get a Euro bet in, but mostly because I was going to take over in game 1 with Vegas and Montreal for a lot of the same things you talked about. It's good price. It's interesting because Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury have both been unbelievable. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be an absolute zoo. I think you're going to see mistakes. I think you're going to see just a lot of probably what we saw last night in the game, right? Just quick things happening. So 5.5 is, it might be a 2-1 game, but I doubt it. There's a few ways, this plays out. One of them could be Vegas running up the score early. Vegas might get 3 in the first period, So that's the way I kind of look at that game. But for this season, you cannot parlay sides and totals at CoolBet. That's a little preview that next season you should be able to. Yeah, lots of big changes coming. But let's go back to the Belgium-Russia pick that I was talking about. Okay, I know nothing about Belgium or Russia when it comes to this tournament. What I do know is Belgium's a minus 167 favorite to win the group, and they're a minus 125, 128 favorite to win this game. If they're going to win the group, they got to win this game. And that's just kind of how I see it playing out. So, they're highly regarded when it comes to the futures markets. And, the Russians are the Russians in every sport. You never know. They could have paid off the official, but I doubt it. So let's ride with Belgium here in the opener of Euro.
I love that you're on
Belgium's already moved to minus 109. Like, since we locked this in like 20 minutes, like it's people are with you here, Gab, but like that line's moving for Belgium. Sorry, Huss.
Well, I was just going to say that I'm glad that you got in. This is a little preview of the Wide World of Wagering, because we all know the beautiful game is going to be front and center for the next little while. So I love the Belgium pick, a little tease going on. But Chris, may as well ask you, I was just on the site today, and I noticed there's some really cool promos for Euro 2020 at CoolBet that people can get in on right from the first game today.
Yeah, there is. I think there's 4 or 5. It's a huge time of year for us at CoolBet. Like this tournament, this next month or so, along with the Copa America, will literally make or break our budgets during the year at CoolBet. That's just how it is. Obviously, we operate in a number of different countries, many of them in Europe, many of them in South Latin America. So obviously soccer is just massive in these areas. But it's really interesting to see the amount of action we're going to take from Canada, because obviously Canada, we all know about the multiculturalism. That's a tough word. That's why multiculturalism. And the diversity, and people come from everywhere, right? So not only do we have, for me, a white guy, both my families are from England. There's a lot of people of English descent, Irish, Scottish descent in Canada, but there's also people, especially here in Ontario where I live, from all over the world. And it's going to be massive to see the action. Already today, I was driving around in Toronto. I could see people had those like flags coming out their windows. I saw at least 6 Italian flags today driving around the city. So this is going to be massive, and it's going to be huge to bet on. So anyway, for the promos, yeah, there's a bunch. There's one, I think you go in and you just place any futures outright bet, you get a free live bet back. If you bet, there's one where you can bet the number of goals in a game each day. There's a game pick, and for each goal that's scored, you get a free bet. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. So definitely go over and check it out. There's a whole like Euro 2020 landing page in the promotions tab. There's a lot. The company's given a lot back to the players, but it's because we expect this to be an absolutely massive event for us.
The one wild one that really caught my eye was I guess they've got a featured match every day. And if you make a bet, a $40 bet on either side, and they win, you win your bet and you get paid for a bonus for every goal that's scored. So it's another thing. But yeah, folks, there's a lot to chew on. So be sure before you get in on the Euro to check the site. What's the I do have to ask you about the futures right now, and obviously by the time this gets out, we'll have a game going out. But where has the money been going on right now? I'm was really surprised. Maybe not that France is the favorite, but you've got England, then Belgium, Germany, 6th ranked team in this tournament by the odds. I was stunned. I'm just so used to having Germany, even in a World Cup, to be like 1 or 2. What are we seeing about where people are going in and the hot teams as far as the cool bettors go?
Yeah, well, I think one of the big things with that is I think you've got Portugal, Germany, and France are all in the same group. So I think that leads a little bit to the outrights. When it comes to the actual tournament winner risk, I'm actually just going to bring it up right now as we're speaking, because I just got back from the golf course at an overnight, so I'm not. I got to be completely honest.
Lucky guy.
When I tell you, I'm not entirely up on where our risk is at. Okay, so obviously, CoolBet's big in Finland, right? Finland is 400-1 to win the tournament. We've taken 74 bets on that for a risk of about $200,000. But when you get back to the more reasonable bets, France would be – what's that?
I said the Finns fired up for their club. You gotta love the faith they have. Throw a little sprinkle on the big underdogs.
The Finns are very nationalistic. They love betting their teams, even if they're massive underdogs. Going back to the World Hockey Championship, for Finland to go all the way to the final was massive for us. But when you talk about countries that kind of everyone will be betting on, the most reasonable big risk we could say is on France at plus 440. We've also taken the most bets on France, so not just in terms of amount, but the most bet count. And then, it actually kind of goes with the odds. England, Belgium, Germany, Italy, Portugal. So those are the teams that, we have the risk on, and those are the teams that are taking the most bets. And for people who don't know, and maybe there are some people who are new to the betting game, that's the odds open at a certain number, what the bookmakers think the outcome will be. The odds change, and it's not because the bookmakers change their mind. It's because the money comes in on a certain team, and they have to adjust it to kind of balance out the risk. So a lot of times when you see these outrights that have been up for a while, like this Euro tournament, they end up where they are because of the risk that's coming in, and the bookmakers have to adjust not to expose themselves. So, if you're new to the betting game, that might be something you haven't considered when it comes to that.
You mentioned that crazy group that involves Portugal and Portugal, France, Germany, and Hungary. So all three of those teams, they're three of the top 6 teams as far as odds to win the tournament. And Portugal is 825 and Germany is plus 850 for the tournament. For the group, Germany is plus 155 and Portugal is plus 295. Which seems like a crazy difference between two teams when Portugal actually has a lower odds to win the tournament. I guess that's just some sort of the intricacies as to where people are going in on group bets as opposed to the tournament overall.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And, there's some other bets like to make the quarterfinal, Portugal is even money. So to finish in the top 8, Portugal's paying plus 100, or they were last time I checked, somewhere around there. So, there's money to be made, and these tournament and group bets will stay up, obviously, until the first game is played in each group, and then they'll change a little bit. But it's that group is going to be something to watch, or it's going to be something that you want to stay away from altogether. One of those teams should get deep, but then you've also got all the other groups to consider where maybe you get a bit of a Cinderella story coming out of one of them. These tournaments are so fun. I mean, it's structured the same as the World Cup. People get as excited about it. And frankly, I mean, most of the best soccer nations, it can be argued, are in Europe. Now, there's obviously some outliers, right, that we all know about, the Brazils of the world. But, most of the best countries are there, so the competition should be fierce.
I just quickly, because I don't bet a lot on soccer, is it any different than any other sports when it comes to, do they bet totals less often in soccer? Do many people attack that spread in soccer? Because for me, I've always only sort of just looked at money lines and gone from there.
Well, so here's the thing. For example, my pick on Belgium, that's technically a spread bet because it's the 3-way money line. So they need to win by at least 1, right? So basically it's Belgium minus 0.5 because there's also a draw available and obviously Russia to win. So that is technically a spread. There is also a market in soccer that we call the money line, but it's called draw no bet. And basically it's the same thing. So Belgium on that, I believe, for that game is more like minus 250, minus 300. So if you ever see draw no bet in soccer, it's the same as we look at money line for hockey, except we always have a winner on our money lines here. If they still end in a draw, right? So that's the difference there. Draw no bet. If it's a draw, it's no bet. You get your push back. You get your money back on a push. So we do see that. Totals are very popular. Betting a team to get shut out is very popular. But the most famous bet, I think, for soccer, and the one that most people like to get in on, is a combination, both teams to score and the total over 2.5. That is a bet that a lot of people really, really like to play. in soccer. So you can bet for both teams to score in the over, or you can also usually find just the both teams to score market. And if you think there's going to be a shutout on either side, you can say no, or you can pick which side you think there'll be a shutout. Those are some things. People also like to bet number of cards, number of corners, but they're a little less popular. They'd be along the lines of point and goal props in the NHL.
You can like for all the groups, and I mean, if you're watching this, there's a couple of the groups that have started, but all the group props will still be available if the groups haven't started yet. I mean, there's I'm just looking at Group C right now. Over under cards in the entire group stage, over under 24 yellow and red cards in it, and over under 56.5 corners in the group stage. Now, I don't know how you follow that bet. I don't know how you keep tabs of how many corners there are so far going forward. That might be a little challenging knowing where you're at. But yeah, no shortage of things to bet on individual games as well as for the individual groups as we get going with the tournament over the course of the weekend and early next week. Did you
so let me just finish the soccer conversation. What's that? Sorry?
Did you mush any teams with outright picks?
No, not yet. I keep that specifically for your listeners and viewers. But something else that's interesting. So you talk about normally we see maybe 200 betting markets on an NHL game. This Turkey-Italy game today, there's 380 betting markets on this game.
Holy smokes.
And that includes will there be a no goal to goal VAR, which is video assisted referee review. So you can pick will any VAR overturn a decision? Yes, plus 150. And you can even pick what they will be. So what I just said, a no goal to a goal, that's 7-1. No direct red card to a direct red card, 11-1. And then neither decision to be changed is minus 213. So there's so many things. I'll tell you one thing. The World Cup in Russia a couple of years ago, back when I was working at Oddshark, guy who sat next to me in the office blindly bet, will there be a PK in every single game? And he crushed it. There was a ton. And it didn't have to be a goal. It just had to be a penalty awarded. And he absolutely crushed it. It's usually 2 or 3-1. So it'll be interesting to watch that as the tournament goes on.
Feel like I can get in on that.
There is so many things. Yeah. See, the VAR bets, type of decision changed by the referee in result of VAR review, goal to no goal, penalty to penalty, and they have plus 150.
Well, imagine if
decision will be changed.
Imagine if we had these markets in the NHL. Most offsides. Which team has the most offsides? Total number of offsides in the game. Total number of substitutions.
Icing.
Unbelievable.
How many icings will there be?
We should be able to bet on icings. That would be incredible. Imagine sitting there being like, that's not an ice. That's not an ice.
These offside markets exist for these games. I'm looking at it right now. Most offsides, Italy minus 133, Turkey plus 285, draw plus 300. Who makes the first substitution? Minus 118 on either side. You can really get into the weeds on this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I can guarantee you, the next month, the lock shop will be going all in on Euro 2020. Tuesday, they'll be, frankly, with hockey winding down, not as many games that we normally pick. Football's still a little ways away. It's going to be a lot of footy on the program for the next little bit.
I can already sense my no yellow card special.
I'm going in on the offside totals.
Yeah, there you go.
Offside totals for me. I love that. Give me the offside totals.
Ahmed, as always, buddy, enjoy it, man. And we'll talk a bunch here during Euro 2020. So enjoy the first weekend.
Absolutely.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, patio's open in Ontario today. 4 people can gather. It's a gong show, and I'm about to go join it.
Eat it.
Enjoy
Sounds
it.
great.
That's great.
I wonder what that's like.
Take care, guys.
There you go. That's we've got restaurants open again now here. You can go in. I golfed yesterday, sat inside the clubhouse for the first time all year, and had a beverage after the round. It was crazy.
Wow, that's amazing. On Saturday, we're allowed to see another human outdoors on a private property, up to 5 people, no more than 2 households. So, you know what? we're really running here. I don't know. We got to plan it by Canada Day. Hopefully, this will be
good.
We'll be able to at least get after.
Well, we need those bombers.
Thank God for the
we
Euro.
Need those bombers, buddy.
No doubt.
God. All right, bud. Let's dive into it. I mean, a lot of soccer talk already, but let's do it. Wide World of Wagering. What do we got?
You know it well, listen, with Euro beginning, the Wide World of Wagering will be all in on the Euro. And like many, I know some of the top teams, some of the, the teams that we expect to be good, but I'll be paying close attention to the first weekend or so of the season, with some smaller bets kind of to try to get ready for when we get down to the group stage. But like Chris, my first bet was loving Belgium over Russia. Originally, I thought it was around minus 132 or 125. It's come down a little bit. So, listen, that's great. De Bruyne, absolute stud, one of the best players in the world. I think that the Belgians, I believe, are second or third as far as the odds. They're third behind France and England to win the entire thing. So, this is a very strong squad. Love them, as Chris kind of laid out, did a good job earlier today. That to get that first win, they're a big favorite in the group, and to do that, you got to get a win against the Russians. So I think they do that on Saturday. AFL footy, we of course are going to drop a little double whammy with a Aussie rules parlay. We're going with two pretty even games and trying to get. I've kind of been going 1 for 2 on these the last few weeks. Let's see if we can get them both. It's the AFL parlay paying plus 228. We're taking Fremantle over Gold Coast. That is at even money. And our guys, the Crows, Adelaide, back on Adelaide. They're taking on St. Kilda, minus 110. That game's basically a pick 'em right now. So Adelaide, minus 110. Fremantle, plus 100. Put them together or do them separately, but plus 228 on the parlay. Got to pop a little esports bet in. And I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about the world of Counter-Strike Go, and even less about the Eliza Invitational that's taking place this weekend. But if you want to have a fun bet from the world of esports, why not go into the dog pound with the Young Ninjas? The Young Ninjas paying plus 123 over Endpoint in their matchup at the CSGO Eliza Invitational. You can probably catch it on Twitch somewhere. Kind of neat, the broadcast that they have for these games. Don't all watch it, but I am backing the Young Ninjas at plus 123. And then the final bet, and this goes back to what we talked about with Chris Abbott a little earlier, Dusty. There are so many wild bets that you can make for the Euro when it comes to the group stage. And, through some extensive research, I came down and my one big bet before Euro is this. Group C, North Macedonia, minus 118 to have the most goals conceded in their group. They're playing along with the Netherlands, Ukraine, and Austria. Not a very strong group, but I mean, how the hell is North Macedonia even in the Euro to begin with? I mean, North Macedonia as a country itself, how many people are there? How can they compete against these large soccer behemoths? They're 30-1 to win the group. They're by far the lowest odds in the group. So it would seem logical that they would be the team to concede the most goals in that group. So at only minus 118, I am riding with the porous defense of North Macedonia to give up the most goals in Group C. You can lock that in before kickoff. And, it's maybe not good form to be cheering against a big underdog like that and just hoping that they get humiliated and give up a number of goals. But everything changes when you put a little wager on it. So North Macedonia, open up the floodgates, let the goals go. Minus 118, most conceded in Group C. And I'll tell you what, coming up on Tuesday's show, assuming that we do it, or next week, whenever we're back on, I know you're taking a few days off, we will have plenty of Euro. By the time we're next on, I will be an expert in all things Euro 2020. So this was, a pre-tourney bet based on how the heck is North Macedonia in Euro 2020. Maybe they'll make me look foolish, but I am locked in for them to give up the most goals in Group C at minus 118. And that's the Wide World of Wagering this week. A little Aussie, some esports, and of course, the beautiful game. This Euro tournament's going to be a lot of fun, Dusty.
And Huss, two things, like with North Macedonia, the reason they are in this thing is for us and the lock shop. They are They are a plus 3,000. Plus 3,000 to win the group, yet only minus 118 to surrender the fewest goals. Like, give this to me all day. And then the other thing, a quick confession. After hearing so much about the Adelaide Crows in the Wide World of Wagering, I did find myself last Friday night on the Adelaide Crows shop online looking at swag. I was this close to pulling the trigger on a Crows hoodie, buddy.
They have some hot merch.
They do. It looks good.
I follow the Crows on Twitter, so I get a lot of their updates throughout the week. And,
of course you do.
They're going for a big win this week coming up in the lock shop. Cannot wait.
That's great. All right, that's going to do it. We're underway with Euro 2020, and obviously, we're kind of learning a lot of this as you will be watching the event. We're going to have a lot of fun with it along the way. We will have a lock shop on Tuesday next week, so we'll bang one out on Tuesday, and then I'm going to be off in the boonies golfing for about 5 days next week. But let's get one in on Tuesday. I really want to do a no yellow card special, so we got to do that on Tuesday. That's going to be good.
we may even have to. We'll work on. Maybe we get some sort of a soccer expert to come in with us for a few minutes on Tuesday and enlighten us on what's to come, what we've seen so far. It'll be a big show with you being away. We'll kind of really bang it out on big time on Tuesday. Look ahead to the rest of the week because there'll be lots of games already scheduled the remaining week. And of course, we'll also be underway with the conference finals, or Final Four, I guess, as we call it this year, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And of course, the NBA. Lots to get us through these weeks before we get back to normal business.
And some football. Oh, some football. It's going to be great. Can't wait. It's going to be good. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of The Lock Shop. Thanks for joining us here on a Friday, everybody. And once again, presenting sponsor, Coolbet Canada. Find them on Twitter at Coolbet Canada. Find Chris at Coolbet Chris. Good follow on Twitter as well. Have a good weekend, buddy.
Right back at you, dude. Thanks.